Hello and welcome to the Epic Thumbs YouTube channel. I'm Phil, and in this video we're going to be taking a complete look at WWF Warzone for the Sony Playstation. Developed by Iguana West and published by Acclaim, WWF Warzone was released on July 14th, 1998 in North America, and the rest of the world 1 month later in August of 1998. The initial development for Warzone started approximately 1.5 years before release in 1997, when parts of the same game engine were constructed when developing NHL Breakaway 98. Warzone benefited from Breakaway 98 by sharing its soft skin technology. This allowed character models on screen to be rendered without seam lines. Early in development, the game was originally called WWF 98, which is quite forward thinking when you consider the titles of today's releases. It featured completely different graphics and textures than the final release, such as displaying the game's name on the ring mat. There is a big reason why in this case the game's beta version looks drastically different from the final release. The World Wrestling Federation was undertaking a branding change between 1997 and 1998, which funnily enough ran side by side with the development of Warzone. It's clear to see this when you follow the different build stages of the game, as the ring mat, ring ropes, turnbuckle posts and aprons all gradually change at different points throughout development. The arena and crowd underwent quite a few changes during development as well, and the beta even allowed players to fight up the entrance ramp in chaotic 1998 fashion, as was the style at the time. However, this was removed in the final version, and I can only assume that hardware limitations was the reason why. This is probably the same case for the crowd as well, which looked to feature some of those good old animated cardboard cutouts, but they didn't make the final release either. Coming up to its release, Warzone was having a pretty strong marketing campaign, being advertised in multiple gaming magazines, on TV and WWF programming.
Step into the WWF Warzone. Go ahead, create your own wrestler. Just another victim for Stone Cold to take out. 4-player action, 4 more kicked. A piece of trash like you is gonna get in a steel cage with me? All the moves in the world won't mean jack when you meet the Stone Cold Stunner. You wanna survive WWF Warzone? Stay away from me. Acclaim Sports.
And a playable demo that was shown off at E3 in May, 2 months prior to its release. The game finally hit stores after being in development for approximately 18 months and featured an 18-man roster which had a refreshing 11 wrestlers making their very first major video game debut, such as The Rock, Kane and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Within Creator Wrestler mode, the developers also included items to make wrestlers that didn't make it into the final roster, such as Vader, The Patriot, Mark Merrow and Tag Team Too Much, Brian Christopher and Scott Taylor. The game featured several match types and was rumoured around the time to have an unlockable ladder match, which unfortunately was not true. Warzone received surprisingly good reviews, being praised mostly for its graphics and sound over its gameplay, selling approximately 2,200,000 copies and being listed as the 36th best-selling game on the Sony Playstation and the most purchased wrestling game for the console as well.
Jockeying for position. Pile driver.
However, I think it would be naive to think that Warzone sales didn't benefit from how popular professional wrestling was at the time, but adding game ratings that said the game was overall somewhere between good and great just added more desire for the fans to buy it. For a changing world of wrestling that was entering its most popular era, I considered WWF Warzone to be a really random point on the wrestling timeline. I think things were changing so much that they just put the game out, otherwise I don't think it would ever got released. I quite like that though, because it's a mix of two completely different points in WWF history. You'd have to watch an episode of Raw is War from 1997 to see some aspects, and 1998 to see others. It wasn't a complete representation of the current TV product, but it's kind of its own weird thing. It probably hasn't aged well to new players, but if you're a wrestling fan I'd recommend giving it a try, just because of how random it is, and how many firsts are in this game. If you're looking to pick up a copy of WWF Warzone today, you're looking to spend anywhere between £4 and £8 depending on condition, so it's pretty cheap. The developers went on to expand their efforts by spawning a sequel entitled WWF Attitude, and then 2 further games after that, which were mostly just a reskinning of the Attitude game for Scrappy Underdog's ECW, but that's a story for another time. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up, and if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in a bit.